Alright, after my disastrously incompetent last pack opening video of Aiden Chronicle, let's do one for Persona 5. I sold myself from my main account the unlock, so we can now buy Persona 5 packs. Okay. Doesn't 4487 already exist? Isn't that a FF9 card? Wait up. Dex. FF9. Now I won't be able to look at the other cards we looked at. I shouldn't have done this way. 4487. Well, clearly not. Search for it. 4487, yeah. So that's a repeat. Maybe it's on a different level. I think it still counts as a repeat. What was the previous level? Oops. 4487 level 6. So here's what must have happened. They searched for the number combo on the level, but this does exist. This is a card. Here, we can briefly comment on the other cards because we can see them there. 5716. Yeah, I like 7651s on level 4. They're an interesting inclusion, provide different numbers. Not super powerful, totally legit card. 88 vertical, that's cool. More 98 corners is always fine. Sure. All good. But I do think this is a probably a card that should be changed. I'll mention that somewhere. The reason it came to mind so vividly that that was a card I've played against, or I recognize, is because Tezuka absolutely mashed me with it in some tournament. It really stuck in my head. There it is again, 4487. All right, 7-7 corners, always good. 7-6-4-1s are nice to have more of, sure. Another of the 9-8-4-3, and 5-4-5-5, sure. I like stuff that has a lot of the same numbers and gaps of 1. Usually not very good, but kind of fun to play with and interesting when they pop up in randoms. Like, you'll never play them in a tournament game or never on a single level set, but they can be interesting to play with in randoms. 7-7-4-4s with double elemental. That fits for Black Frost. Those are a good 2 elementals chosen. Yeah, I think playing with 7-6-8-6 type stuff is always fun on level 9. Yeah, looks good. A7-6-5s are always kind of mediocre. But that's okay, they're gotta be mediocre cards. 8-7-7s are so interesting. I wonder if 8-7-7s, if we were a world where we had never added plus wall, because plus wall isn't an original rule. In a same plus world, 8-7-7s gain a lot of value, and I wonder if we'd look at these as kind of the powerhouses of level 7 in that universe. I like A8-4-4s. I mentioned earlier, I think 8-4-9-4 type stuff and like 8-5-9-4, this was in the last video, I think plays better than I would expect it to. But 9-4-9-4 never does. Again, whenever I say like a card is bad, that doesn't mean they shouldn't have added it. There should be lots of bad cards. I'm just looking and thinking, which of these cards are useful or would I be happy to see in a random? 8-9-6-4 comes up a little bit, but not very powerful in the in a level 9 games where no A's are allowed. I love seeing more 8-7-6-4s of all iterations, just gives more tools to run it. And the horizontal vertical ones are a little less overpowered, but very fun to use and very strong. Another A9-6-4. I don't think this one has a pair. I think I think A9-6-4s that are spear cards, I talk too much about this when I'm opening packs, but spear versus wheels, where like A469 Squall is a wheel in that, or I think of it as going round, and that each number goes up or goes down depending on which way you're going, from the highest to the lowest. And this card, the strongest number is surrounded by the next 2 strongest numbers. And in my head, going round is a wheel, and pointing towards the strongest is a spear. I think spear cards are a little less dependent on pairs, that wheels tend to play really well with their pairs, and spears tend to maybe they're a tad better without their pair, but they don't have the upside of being quite as strong with their pair, is my sort of feeling of them, but I could be full of it. 866s, that's probably a level 6. Always play quite well. I mean, it might not be, because 8661 is a level 6. 8662s are probably usually level 7s. That's probably a 7. Ah, the A964 does have a pair. Ah, and it makes sense story-wise, at least somewhat why you would pair these two. Alright, so we have a new A9 pairing. We have the Joker Akechi pairing. Interesting. Yeah, if we see many hands being played, which obviously we don't see as much of anymore, it'll be interesting to see if we see a bunch of Joker Akechi based hands. It won't have the same kind of Kyros type synergy to really make that hand pop. And you can't pair like Ramses with it the same way, because the great thing about Kyros is the 6 touches a 6 or an A, right? Squall Cypher have A's and 6s up and down, and Kyros, or the new card that's the opposite of Kyros, has 6s facing the 6 or the 6/6 up down facing the A's, either way with plus wall, plus same potential. And this, there's not as natural a pairing. You'd want to have a 4 up and down, and that does not exist on level 10. Like you could go like 4A, 4-9 or whatever, like Maduin, I think is that. But that is a much weaker card. So it doesn't have that natural third card to go with it in the same way the wheels do. Again, I think the wheels work better in pairs. But it would be fun to see what people can construct with this, because I don't think there's ever been a pair of Spear A964s before, and A964s are, of course, excellent cards, and Spears is generally a good version of cards. So it'll be fun to see if someone can make something with this work. My guess is Squall Cypher is the better choice. But like seeing optionality there, and that is something unique and new that the site hasn't had before. 897s always show up interestingly on the level 9 no A's rule sets that seem to just be constant in tournaments. Usually we don't get the spear configuration, though. Interesting. All right. 8785. All right. Another 987. I've always had a soft spot for Weegraph and Elena. They are 9781 and 8197, I think, though I might have the side to side reversed. They won me a really important tournament game. I think it was maybe round 1 of Rufus. It was a win over Yojimbo, and I was really proud of it because this was the point when Yojimbo was like, I think I was clearly better for a few years, and then it became unclear, and then he became better at the end, and then I left, and then he stayed better. But this was a point where I like obviously he could beat me and I could beat him, but I had thought I was clear favorite for a while, and this was the point where I wasn't so sure. But I had learned some things from playing him, and they were a type of card that I had valued less before, but that seeing how he did stuff showed me was more valuable than I thought. So it was a match of me feeling like I am no longer quite the player I was, and he's just getting better and better. How can I compete? I have to try to learn from what he's doing, and so that's a win. I'm really one of my prouder wins historically. Now I look at this and I think this is trash, but it's because I'm used to seeing the 8 and 9 up and down, and just visually that looks better to me. I've talked about this, how like there's some number configurations where I think up down looks clean and right, and some where I think it should be a left right card. For instance, in the banner, if you see at the top, it has Anima, the 6A19. If I see a A691, I think like that looks like trash, but 6A91 looks usable to me. And for some reason, with the 9781s, in my brain, that should be an up down card. That should not be a side to side card. So this looks not good to me, but of course, this is good. And there have been a bunch of 987s on level 8 recently, and I think they've been good additions and good cards. I was a little hesitant at first. I thought maybe 987 as a wheel card was a little too powerful and it should only be printed in iterations like this. I think that turned out to be wrong, but I like seeing this version of it. I'm very happy to see that card. And we get to see it again. 7654s are always nice. 6333s are, I think, level 2 thing and nice cards. 7544s. We saw 7744 in one of the first packs we opened. 5774s either on level 6 or 7, because level 6 or 7, if a card is good on one, it's usually fairly viable on both. Like level 7 has more cards that are viable on both, but a good level 6 plays well on level 7 because you're targeting the same numbers. And because, well, level 7 is stronger, it's not so much stronger that it's not viable. So whether this is on level 6 or 7, it's usable because the 5 and 4 means the 7s can take 7s and 8s, which are the targets. And even if you think about more cross-level rule sets, like if you were running this against level 5s, obviously it's going to be pretty good. The 774 part is very powerful. And if you run it against level 8s, where suddenly we go up to having 9s on the cards, it doesn't have 0 play against 9s, and obviously it gets more play back against 10s. So it would probably be worst on a set that's like 876, but pretty much any way you cross levels with it, it keeps some value. And these have been a popular choice on, like, I think I'm not remembering right. I referenced this last time I was doing a pack opening video, but I think in the level 6 through 10 finals I played against MC, I think at least one of us used a card like this, a 7754, just as a nice cross-level choice. As I said, I like these 8494s. Oh, no, this was, I opened the wrong pack. This was Eiyuden Chronicles. Yeah, sorry, I meant to open Persona 5. 5858 never plays amazing. 3993, that's a level 9, I guess. Yeah, that's a pretty weak level 9, but that's okay. There should be weak cards. Like seeing more 5741s. This got a bunch of play because this came out before the last tournament. I saw this getting played a bunch in the last tournament. Most of these cards are completely unfamiliar to me, but 5741 we saw a bunch of. And I think that was actually causing a graphics glitch in one of Stuff's matchups. I think it was Stuff's? Maybe it was someone else's. Or it's just really, like, one of the cards wasn't showing up properly. Very difficult to calculate that game. All right, 5553, sure. 6341's a pretty good level 2. Like a Glacial Eye, but switched around. Glacial Eye, I think 6143. All right, 7759's never great. I like her. I find her character pretty funny, so I wish she had a more powerful card, but it's playable. I mean, it's pretty weak, but yeah, it's playable. Can't complain though. Not every character you like will get an elite playable card that you can build around. We're mostly seeing repeats at this point. I will have to mention to someone that 4487 has been done before. Specifically, I'll send an angry message, insulting message to turds. 4868, this is another one that's... Ooh, that's a level 9. Yeah, those are kind of houses on level 8 in the no 9 rule sets on level 8. Huh. I think 6848 already exists. Okay, interesting addition. It's neat seeing what new number combos people come up with. I think we haven't seen 9545 yet. Those always play terribly. I like cards like 5432s. My favorite version is the 6543 on level 3. They're not, like, powerful cards, but it's just fun how whatever numbers they see, there's some plus potential. 7654s are probably the most no, 8765s are the most popular iteration. But 7654s are pretty decent on level 5. 8765s are great on level 8. 6543s are okay on level 3, but I just always like things where the numbers are all tight knit like that. I think they're fun cards to use. 7841, that's a pretty good level 6. 4845 is a pretty terrible level 6, but they have to exist. 8554 is something where there's no plus wall potential against any of the stuff you're targeting. And that's okay, right? There should be cards that just blank like that use the available number space. 7263, always like more 7632s, especially the horizontal verticals that are a little less powerful but fun to play with. Cool. I don't know how many more we're going to open. 7886, I don't think we've seen. That's another 8-8 corner. So this is the same corner as Satan. And we saw in the last video from Eowyn Chronicles an 8876 for 7. This is an opposite of Lorana. I don't think 8876s make for amazing pairs, but this is kind of historically untested because there just haven't been pairs of them, aside Freya and Pandemonium Warden. But those are horizontal verticals, not corners. So that will be interesting. Again, if there were more hand games going on, it would be interesting to see. I'd be really curious about if someone can make a really good hand with the Joker Akechi pair, and also with this new 8876 pair. There was some other card that I was curious how it would affect stuff, but TTA isn't really something with a meta. There's I think it was early on because there were so few decks available, but now that there are so many, there isn't one. It would be, I don't know, it would be curious to have a format where for a while people played with hands on limited decks and tried to figure out which hands are viable and if there's a meta within that. Because, TTA doesn't really have metas in the same way other games do. There's stuff of 6632s are really good on level 3, etc., etc. But it's pretty clear in the early days, especially with the help of Set Starter, there were just hands that you had to specifically plan how to deal with that hand. That hand could pose very specific threats, and what hands you could play against it. And you'd play different hands against different people, so I guess you weren't super locked in. But what hands you wanted to run were kind of determined by that. And it could be fun, I don't know, maybe not for that many people, but for me, to live in a world where there's a limited card space everyone has access to, and you're trying to figure out how to create the biggest advantage in that space. But instead of targeting things like, okay, it's on level 6 or 7, I need to be able to plus wall 8s and 7s, you'd be targeting things like, okay, Silver Dragon and Harloot pairing is here. Oh, that might have been what I was thinking of, because there's now a new 8764 pairing on level 7. So maybe that new pairing is allowed, and you're thinking, okay, that is available. I need to run a hand that can deal with that, because those exact pair of cards are the main thing I'm going to be seeing. And figuring out, do you want to be someone who is running that pair of cards, which has the benefit that you are running the most powerful effect, but the downside that a lot of other people are running it too, and if you get second turn, you are very likely to be setting up their cards because there will be so many cards with amazing synergy with each other that it's just really scary to have second turn on that kind of rule set. I don't know. I think it would be fun to explore metas in a different way than we do. I think there's something neat there that we don't really have in current TT, and we maybe only had very briefly in early TT. And I wasn't there for that. And maybe that sucked. Maybe it was just really lame and unpleasant. But I like the idea of having a narrower space to solve with clearer targets. I think that could be really neat. All right, we're seeing a lot of repeats at this point. Last time when we were seeing this, 5157 and 5144, I think that's new. But we were at around 90 cards gotten out of Eowyn Chronicle when I started feeling. I think 7331 we may not have seen before. So I'm going to set the over-under at how many cards we have from Persona 5 at... Oh, did we just get a rare? Did we just get a rare? I'm going to open a new tab so we don't lose this. I think we just got a rare. Hey! Well, that's fun. Congrats to me. Or my bots. Oh, that's fun. 5392. I only recognized it because I saw it in the auction house. All right, that seems like a great place to stop. I should have had that as the final shot. Um, yeah. So my prediction is I think we have 91. 91 over under. What do you think? Last time I set it at 65, and if you pick the over, you win. I think we have gotten 91 cards from Persona 5. And you now take over or under that. And if you get it right, congrats to you. If you get it wrong, congrats to me. Persona 5, 79. Ooh, significantly less. All right, so if you took the under, you win this round. The reason EC is now under 91 is because I've been feeding some cards to other accounts that have not yet collected. So, okay, that was fun. We got a rare. That was very exciting. And had some interesting thoughts, hopefully, at least to me, about I think it could be neat to explore some smaller metas. Now, I think there's not that many people that interested in doing this. Like, I think you could get Tezuka on board, but maybe no one else. But it would be fun. It would be like a little blast from long, long ago. Maybe I could try to set up the bots on it. Like I could set up the bots with limited deck hand rule sets where they have specific hands and people could start figuring it out. Maybe we could do some kind of challenge with this. All right, just an idea.